ตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนะมัสสามิ Good evening and blessings. One of the questions people always ask us when they come to the monastery, they say, I'm here to make merit, but what does making merit really mean? It's a term that we translate from the Pali word punya, or in different languages, say like in Thai, everyone knows the word bun, tham bun. The Buddha said making merit comprises of dana, sila, and bhavana, generosity, virtuous behavior, and mental cultivation. But it's also sometimes expanded out, the meaning of it, into what we call the 10 grounds or 10 bases for meritorious action. Which, if you remind yourself what those are, then you realize, when you come to a monastery, or particularly wherever there is sangha, monks, nuns living, and you're going to make offerings to support them and participate in activities in those kind of places, many of these different 10 courses of meritorious action are being cultivated and fulfilled at that time. Merit itself refers to the happiness that arises through our good actions, skillful actions. The happiness and the quality, the nature of merit is it cleanses the mind, cleans the mind from mental defilements. So say you make merit through practicing generosity, where you're cleaning up your stinginess and your possessiveness and attachment, say, to your wealth and the things you have, or your knowledge, say, for example. So every act of merit is cleansing the mind and bringing a sense of goodness and happiness to the mind. So it's something the Buddha encouraged us to cultivate all the time through our lives. Another aspect of merit is it sustains us. Meritorious actions, good actions, sustain us through our life, because our life is mixed up with a lot of obstacles, problems, challenges and difficulties. Life is not always easy. So we need skillful qualities, skillful actions to help sustain us through that. So we are encouraged to make merit regularly. So these 10 ways of making merit, well, the first, as I just said, dana, generosity. You're practicing generosity regularly through your life in whatever way you can. Generosity of heart is where it starts. It's that sense of seeing the value of sharing with others, helping others, brings up a good feeling for us as a human being. Good feeling for the one sharing, giving, good feeling for the one receiving. Develops good relationships in our life when we practice generosity, whether it's in small ways or big ways. You don't have to practice generosity with large amounts of money or great acts of sacrifice necessarily. Maybe just small acts of generosity practiced regularly are constantly cultivating that sense of being able to share. And you tend to feel good about yourself when you do this, when you help someone else out. Give them some advice, support, give them a meal, give them some help in some way. When you remember that act, you feel good. This is the beginning of making merit, learning to help others and helping ourselves at the same time. Because the world it benefits from that. It has benefited in the past, and this world has been built up through the actions of many, many people over many decades, many generations, many centuries. And it continues to go on. And sometimes that's overlooked because we tend to think about the problems of the world. Whether we're talking about world-scale problems like pandemics or economic problems or war or whatever, or just in our personal lives, we tend to focus on what's not going right and take what's going well for granted sometimes. So sometimes we should also stop and appreciate the generosity we have practiced or the generosity we've received from others as well. It tends to brighten the mind, brings up a sense of goodness, and has this quality of sustaining us. The second of these 10 courses of meritorious action is sila, virtue, or learning to live in a moral, ethical way, where we're not harming ourselves or others through our speech or actions. Again, so often overlooked in our lives. But when we're not harming anyone, we tend to be at our ease. We don't feel at risk from others, because if we do harm others, we tend to worry, what are they going to say or do to us? Are they going to get back at us? And we feel good about ourselves, what we've done. And we often overlook that. Most days of your life, you might well not harm anyone at all through your speech or actions. Just go about your business. You might consciously be practicing, say, precepts in the Buddhist sense, Buddhist way, 5 precepts, 8 precepts. Or you may be doing it in a more general way, just aware of your behavior and not seeking to harm anyone through your speech, your actions, or do things that are going to cause suffering to others. And you may go through many days where you do that and you just don't even think about it. It's just normal for you. And that's the value of merit. When we practice virtuous behavior regularly, it can become part of who we are, and that sense of well-being is there to sustain us and help us, even though sometimes we meet with difficulties in our life. And you can make the merit of virtuous behavior even when you're ill, or when you're at home, when you're out, when there's a pandemic, when there's economic challenges, when you're going through all kinds of difficulties. You can still practice virtuous behavior and make merit at any time. Even on your deathbed, you can consciously keep the 5 precepts. And that's one reason we make merit, is we're building up a store of wholesome or skillful qualities through our life, through our efforts and our practice, that will actually sustain us right through to the end of our life. So the Buddha encouraged us to make our minds firm in merit, the merit of generosity, the merits of virtuous behavior, good habits that have a cumulative effect on our personality, our character. We may still have many other skills, other things that we believe in and like and do in our life, which can all be good. But if we have this understanding of making merit, it brings a particular kind of happiness and sense of well-being. The same with the third kind of merit, bhavana. As we just practice mindfulness of breathing, you'd call that bhavana. Normally, bhavana means mental development, mental cultivation. And they divide it into samatha and vipassana. So samatha bhavana, just learning to develop mindfulness on a meditation object, as a way to let go of stress, negative states of mind, the 5 hindrances. Brings up a deep and profound sense of well-being and happiness the more we do it. So it's often considered to be the pinnacle, the summit of our merit making, learning to meditate, calm the mind, bring the mind beyond the 5 hindrances. And then vipassana bhavana, cultivating insight into the true nature of this world from ourselves, from this, seeing this body and understanding this body, this mind as impermanent, as unsatisfactory as not self, not to be grasped at, but to be let go of. This constant identifying with everything as self or related to self, letting go of that and just allowing things to be the way they are, seeing that they're impermanent and not self. This is Vipassana Bhavana, the most powerful kind of merit human beings can make. It's something we have to keep working towards through our life. But all these different kinds of merit support each other and are supportive conditions for the arising of other kinds of merit. One moment of merit will prompt another moment, as it were. Meritorious thought, speech, action. It's constantly having a cumulative effect on the mind. But there's 7 other courses of meritorious action that they talk about in the text that we're not always so aware of, but we may follow them anyway. One of them is what we call making merit through having reverence, respect for those who are worthy and important in our life. It's called apacaya mai. So it's like reverence for our teachers, reverence for our parents, reverence and respect for people who have helped us. Could be a friend, colleague. It's a quality that opens the heart up to all kinds of other skillful qualities. It involves, limiting your ego, your conceit, sort of putting it to one side, humbling yourself, and is a very beautiful thing to see when one shows reverence and respect for others, in the workplace, in the family, in any group of people. It's always something beautiful to see. There's the physical behavior that comes from the mind of reverence and respect. Other people see it, they often find it very inspiring. And merit is like that. Any form of merit making tends to be inspiring to others and brings up wholesome qualities both for us and for others who are seeing or participating or aware of this. And it's difficult for us to learn the Dhamma and progress in the Dhamma if we don't have any respect for those who have helped us and who are giving us support. So, the first people we might practice this with is, that sense of respect for parents, because they bring us into the world, feed us, look after us, get us to where we are in our lives. Even if we're adults, you can never deny that fact. Occasionally, people have different life situations. Parents die early, or sometimes through divorce or whatever, we lose touch with our parents. Of course, that's possible. But generally speaking, our parents help us all through our childhood up into adult life. So that's something that's worthy of honor, respect, reverence. So that's merit. It has a very good effect on the mind. Teachers, the same. People who have taught us the Dhamma, introduced us to the Dhamma, helped us, guided us in the Dhamma. When you meet with them, it's correct and it's meritorious to have respect, humility. If you know how to be humble, you can listen to a teacher and receive teaching. If there's no humility, it's difficult, isn't it? Your mind doesn't want to accept, doesn't want to listen, not willing to take interest in what someone else has to say, perhaps. So actually is limiting on us. We cut ourselves off from the world when we're not open to receive advice, teachings, or even just words, kind words of support sometimes. So this is considered meritorious. Another kind of merit-making, Vayavachamai, is rendering acts of service. When you come to a monastery, it's a place where people do a lot of voluntary work. They help out. You come, you help out, cleaning up, setting up, maintaining the place, repairing things, sorting things out. There's always, in a monastery or a Buddhist center, there's always things that need to be done. So it's that sense of volunteering and being willing to help out. But it could be at home as well, just being one who sees the value of helping out at the home in the various duties that need to be done at home, cleaning, repairing, maintaining, and so on. Any parent who has children that are willing to help out will be a happy parent, or brothers or sisters or partners. If you have one partner who helps out and one who doesn't, it doesn't make for a happy relationship. So it's merit to learn to help out and see the value of that. Giving acts of service, and maybe as one's merit increases, then one can give out more, not just in the family, but in the workplace, in society, and so on. So again, the Buddha was encouraging us to develop this kind of merit making and make the mind firm in it, skilled in it. Another kind of merit making we see every day in the monastery as Sangha is the merit making of sharing or dedicating merit to those who passed away. This in non-Buddhist countries, this sometimes raises eyebrows. If you have any, if you're a Sangha member, you don't have any eyebrows anyway. But if you had eyebrows, you would raise them, because sometimes people, they don't believe in past lives, future lives, which is fair enough, because often there isn't much evidence for it. But having heard the Buddha's words, examined them, reflected on them, and practiced with them, you might realize there's possibly something to it. And so one form of merit making is the sharing of merit, the sharing of the goodness of your heart and the good actions you've done with the dead. The Buddha was quite clear. He said there's only really one group of beings that can receive merit when we do share merit. That's what we call the ghosts, hungry ghosts realm. They can receive merit when we make merit and then dedicate it to the dead. Others, somebody's reborn as an animal or a human or a deva, they can't really receive the merit. But it's still something good to do, because you receive merit as well. By doing your skillful actions, practicing generosity, helping out, showing respect, all the different kinds of merit, we're always benefiting, and the people around us, the living, are benefiting. And if it can help the dead, well, why not? And somebody actually asked the Buddha once, they said, well, say there's a hungry ghost, your relative has be reborn as a ghost, but they don't, for some reason, they don't know or they don't receive the merit. Who would receive that merit if you're dedicating it to your deceased relative? And he said, other deceased relatives that you've forgotten about will come along and receive that merit in their place. The way he talked is almost as if there's a whole queue of merit, people's relatives of ours seeking and waiting for us to make merit for them. Perhaps this explains why so many people have dreams. They're always coming to tell us, oh, I had a dream of my mum, my grandpa, my uncle, my this, my that. Before I came to the monastery, I had this really clear dream. Sometimes it may be that they're just prodding the one going to the monastery to make some merit on their behalf. Ajahn Mahabua is a famous meditation master in Thailand. He used to say, sometimes it's very sad that people come to the monastery and make offerings and do good things, but they forget to share the merit with their dead relatives. And we believe he has great psychic ability, what we call abhinya, and he could see beings in other realms. He said sometimes these beings are queuing up, waiting for their relatives to make merit and dedicate it to them, because it could really help them open up and become happier in that realm that they're maybe in a realm of suffering, and the happiness that arises as they receive merit and recognize the merit that's been done can lead to them being reborn out of that realm. But their relatives forget, don't make any kind of dedication or acknowledgement of their dead ancestors. So these ancestors and relatives who are queuing up for merit go home empty-handed, shaking their heads, a bit kind of disappointed. Just as if you went to somebody's Christmas party and they didn't give you any food or anything. You went home and said, oh, that wasn't much of a party. The same sort of thing. People have relatives waiting for merit and we just forget about them. So we're encouraged to make merit by sharing and dedicating the merits of our actions. And then closely linked to that, another kind of merit is just rejoicing in the merit others are doing. So sometimes just seeing other people do good things and rejoicing in that brings merit, brings us happiness, brings up wholesome states of mind, can bring us a happiness that can last all day, even our whole lifetime, just quietly recollecting and remembering good actions that you've seen or witnessed. It brings you happiness. And when you see other people practicing generosity, helping each other out, often it brings up a deep sense of well-being, happiness, witnessing that, knowing that there are other good people in the world making merit, making good karma. It's almost like free happiness. All you have to do is open your mind up, witness it, recognize it, and you're happy. And that's going on every day in the world. You won't see it on the news. They very rarely show news of good things because bad news sells better. So we have to learn how to do it. We can't wait for other people to feed us with news of goodness that is taking place in the world. We have to open our eyes. As you walk around in your life, notice when people do good things. You see a mother or father looking after their child in some way. That's merit that you can rejoice in. When you see people helping each other out, cooperating, acting as a team, doing something successfully, you can be happy for them and rejoice in that. When you see people making offerings in a monastery, keeping precepts, meditating, you can be happy even if you can't participate, but you just witness it and know it's happening. You can rejoice in that. It's another kind of merit. It's like opening your mind up. Maybe it's sort of eroding away a little bit of your jealousy, your personal pride and conceit, your self-obsession. We're also self-obsessed. But sometimes when you open up to see the good in others, those kind of more negative qualities fade away at that time. So it has this purifying or cleansing effect on your mind. And it's free happiness, rejoicing in the good actions of others. I often tell a story of a beggar who lived in the temple in Bangkok, one of the big Bangkok temples where lots of people go to make merit every day, make offerings. And this temple, they had an old meditation hall that they knocked down and they were rebuilding it. So there was a lot of fundraising and offerings going on to provide the funds for that. And this guy he's a beggar and he had his corner in the temple grounds and he'd just sit there every day with his little pot. He's a skinny guy, doesn't look very healthy. And people would come by and drop a few coins into his pot from time to time and he could get by. And he just lived in a little shack down the road, so he had no real possessions, just got enough to get by, have some poor quality food to get by. And he was sitting there every day for many years. But during this period when they're rebuilding the meditation hall, people were going in every day to make offerings to the monks. They'd offer food and they'd offer funds for the building work. And one day he came into the hall where the monks having their food and the various offerings were being made. And he sat there with a big plastic bag, which was very heavy. And when everyone else had made their offerings and left, then the monk said, "Oh, what do you want?" And he said, "I want to make my offering today." So he came up and he deposited this huge, heavy plastic bag on the raised seat where the monks were. And then they had a look and it was full of money, coins and notes. And so they got a temple attendant to count it out, which took ages. And it turned out there's like over 1 million baht, which is a lot of money for anyone, let alone a beggar. And they said, where did you get this from? He said, well, I've been saving it. I don't use much, but people are generous. They give me a little bit every day, so I've been saving it. And it's my turn to make merit today. There's this sort of wave of rapture in the hall, because there's a few people there, the monks were there, some visitors were there. Everyone was just so amazed. I guess in English you'd say it was awesome. Or from where I come from, they would say they were gobsmacked. Didn't expect that the beggar could make such a big donation, having collected money so diligently over so many years, and decided to give it to the temple for this purpose. So the senior monk asked him, "Why are you doing this? You don't have a job, you don't have an income." And he said, "Oh, well, every day I see people coming into the monastery to make offerings, and they come out so happy. I always feel happy when I see the happiness of each person making an offering going away." And he's got a lot of time, he's just sitting there watching. So he said, "I always had the thought, I want to do that. I want to make merit in that way. So this is my chance." So the monks gave him a blessing, and everyone rejoiced in this tremendous act of generosity from someone who had nothing. So we can make merit by simply witnessing the merit of others and rejoicing in it, finding happiness in it. And it cleanses the mind. In that moment, all your negativity, stress disappears, doesn't it? When merit fills your mind, whether it's from generosity, sila, meditation, respect, helping out, volunteering, sharing merit, or just rejoicing in the merit of others. It has this quality of filling you up. It's the food of the heart. So you feel full, and then lots of negative mind states disappear or just seem small in comparison, so they don't bother you so much. Your fears, your worries, your anger, your desires, when confronted with a mind full of merit, they often just kind of pale into insignificance, at least for a while. So you feel very good, you feel uplifted. Another way, very important, that we make merit is by listening to Dhamma. So you are making merit right now, listening to the Dhamma. And that goes hand in hand with another kind of merit, which is giving Dhamma, giving teachings of the Dhamma or explaining the Dhamma. So I'm making merit, you're making merit at this very moment. So you might say this, at least through this one act of making merit, listening to Dhamma, giving Dhamma, explaining the Dhamma, this day has not been wasted, because it's a day that you've definitely made some merit. Sometimes we feel like our life is drifting by and we're not really progressing or understanding anything or becoming more happier or better as human beings. But any day that you consciously make an effort to make merit becomes a valuable, meaningful day for you. So listening to Dhamma is always valuable. And actually these days it's very easy, isn't it? We've got the internet, we've got all kinds of ways, and we can travel. When there's no COVID, we can travel and visit teachers and places where we can hear Dhamma and practice Dhamma, and we can listen to it online. Better than ever before, we have the chance to listen to the Dhamma. You can listen to the Dhamma from arahants. Like people often complain, they say, "Oh, there's no arahants in the world, no chance to hear the real Dhamma of the real enlightened beings." But you can, because it's on YouTube. Even translated, say, if you talk about the Northeast Thai forest tradition or the Thai forest tradition, there's plenty of enlightened beings in that, and you can hear their teachings now online. You can read their teachings, hear them translated. You're very lucky in this day and age. When I first became a Buddhist, started practicing, it was very hard to hear the good Dhamma from a monk. There was very little on TV, online didn't exist, and from books, there weren't many books. Nowadays, we're inundated, we're swamped with Dhamma, but there is actually a lot of good Dhamma out there. And this is something to appreciate, the role of listening and reading and studying the Dhamma through our lives. We build a cumulative knowledge and understanding through listening to the Dhamma regularly. It's meritorious. It reminds us of the way to practice, of the truth. It reminds us at times when we often forget, or sometimes, it's even stuff you've heard before, but you're just in the right frame of mind so it really goes in deep when you hear a Dhamma talk. It doesn't matter if sometimes you hear a Dhamma talk and your mind goes into samadhi. That's often the way it happens. Sometimes in the past I've listened to Ajahn Chah giving a Dhamma talk. It's only a recording, but as his words come through, the meaning and the kind of sense, the good sense, or you might say the merit of such a good teacher, means your mind goes really calm very quickly when hearing the words of Dhamma from someone like Ajahn Chah and many other good teachers. Listening to the Dhamma, giving the Dhamma can bring up such wholesome states of mind. Sometimes the listener just goes into samadhi. By the end of the talk, they don't know the words that are being said anymore because their mind has gone into a state of samadhi where they've stopped listening. And Ajahn Chah used to say, that's all right. You start listening with your heart. You don't need to hear the words. They may return later as a memory, and sometimes that's good as well. Remembering previously heard talks can bring up insight over and over again. But sometimes listening to the Dhamma, your mind just goes quiet into samadhi. I've seen that before. I've had friends who are sitting meditation, listening to a good Dhamma talk, and they go into samadhi, and when they come out of their state of samadhi, everyone else has gone home and left. They've been in a hall with 100 monks and 500 lay people meditating, and then they open their eyes, and many hours later they've come out of their samadhi and everyone's gone home. Well, it didn't matter. They had a good meditation. That might have been triggered by listening to the Dhamma. The merit arises, the good qualities, wholesome qualities arise in the mind. I've even had the unusual experience of translating for Ajahn Anan, teaching with him and translating his talk. He gave a good Dhamma talk, I guess from his own pure state of mind and wisdom, and then the occasion gave a Dhamma talk. Several times I can remember translating and then my mind going into samadhi, and I just couldn't remember what he was saying anymore. Go into a deep state of samadhi, and for a while your mind is just gone and you're not asleep. You're in samadhi, but you can't remember the words that are being said. Luckily, if you know the teacher when you're translating for them and they know you, then often they're quick to know what has happened. Because it's not that you fall asleep, you just gone into a state of samadhi when you're supposed to be translating. So it's a bit embarrassing, but it's also maybe a good result. So giving the Dhamma can be like that. Some teachers have got up. Famous case in Bangkok, one visiting teacher got up on the high Dhamma seat to give a Dhamma talk and make merit that way, and he went straight into samadhi and didn't get down for 7 days. You might call that a really good Dhamma talk, just sitting in meditation for 7 days. But giving of Dhamma is like listening to the Dhamma. It's something to be done regularly. One doesn't have to be the best speaker in the world or have the most knowledge in the world, but just sharing the Dhamma for other people to hear, to help them to develop their wisdom and understanding, give them right view, right understanding of the way to practice. It's a great gift to the world, the gift of Dhamma. There's no other gift as high or as valuable as the gift of Dhamma. So it's another form of making merit. We give each other Dhamma, sometimes in formal ways like this, in a talk or in advice, answering questions, but sometimes you just give Dhamma in a very ordinary way. So people can give Dhamma to each other just through their presence, by practicing sila, say refraining from unskillful behavior, unskillful speech, and then acting in skillful ways. Can be giving Dhamma, sharing time together with someone, even when you don't say many words, just giving your presence is another form of Dhamma teaching sometimes. Just being patient with someone who's ill or stressed or suffering, and only just saying a few words can still be a form of giving Dhamma, can't it? The last of the 10 ways of meritorious action is tituju kamma. It's bringing your mind your views in line with the truth, with the Dhamma. So it's last probably because it's the hardest of all. It's basically developing right view and maintaining right view in the way you look at the world. All the other 9 kinds of merit making support that, bringing you to understand what is wholesome karma and unwholesome karma, and then acting appropriately to develop wholesome and skillful karma, and then abandoning unskillful types of karma from your behavior. Bringing your views in line with the Dhamma, understanding what is suffering, what is its cause, craving, attachment. What's the way to abandon suffering through developing the path, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, so that you can experience a mind free of suffering, Nirodha, the cessation of suffering. And bringing your mind to see the Four Noble Truths in your experience, develop that kind of wisdom and insight, is the highest merit, because it's directed to freeing you up from suffering in your experience. What ultimately frees us from suffering is wisdom, isn't it? When you have the wisdom to see craving and attachment arising, see that they cause suffering, and then abandoning them through the practice, that's the greatest benefit, the greatest merit, and it comes about through straightening your views, seeing the impermanent nature of the world, seeing the unsatisfactory nature of the world, seeing the lack of self in experience. And this is the highest merit, because it's the wisdom of insight that frees our mind from delusion, attachment to wrong views. So all these 10 kinds of merits work together. They're just, on paper we split them up into their different kinds, but they're different qualities that we cultivate through the practice. And the idea is that making merit in these different ways sustains our practice, sustains our very life. Why are we born? Is through the fruits of our past merit making that we are born. And then as we live, how do we progress in our practice? It's through making merit in these different ways. So we're encouraged to make our mind firm in merit, because if your mind is firm in these 10 different kinds of merit, then it's difficult for the world to shake you and knock you off your practice, knock you off course. Because there will be things that come along to knock you off course. We do get attached to wrong views and mix with people who pull us in the wrong direction, and then we meet with problems and difficulties. And often when we're not practicing or making merit, then we can make a lot of suffering out of the problems we encounter. And it's like that simile the Buddha gave of the piece of rock salt. For somebody who's making merit all the time and making their mind firm in merit, their mind has that sense of expansiveness. There's less cause for suffering to arise. So their mind is like a big expanse of water. So the Buddha compared it to the river Ganges, say. And then if you have a piece of rock salt, a lump of salt the size of your fist, that might represent your old karma coming up, various causes and conditions from the past which are going to bring up some pain or unpleasantness in your life. But if your mind is like a vast expanse of water, and you throw in a lump of rock salt, well, that water doesn't change much. It doesn't make the water salty. It's just the rock salt is quickly diluted and disappears. So it's like somebody who's constantly making merit. Even though painful experiences come up, they just disappear very quickly. It doesn't knock them off. Whereas someone who doesn't make much merit and doesn't understand the value of it, they're like somebody who's just got a little cup of water, and the same piece of rock salt put into the water just makes the water undrinkable, unpalatable. It's full of salt. It's like someone who never makes any good karma and they just make bad karma maybe, or follow unwholesome ways of behavior. So they never experience the mind that is cleansed of greed, anger and delusion. They don't experience what merit is really like. So the Buddha encouraged us to make merit and make it in this complete way. Follow all 10 courses of action. Sometimes people, they just make dana, the merit of dana, which is good, but they don't show any interest in sila or bhavana. The Buddha encouraged us to really cultivate ourselves in all areas of merit making and the practice, because it will bring us better results, more peace of mind, more insight. We used to have a dog in the monastery in Thailand. This dog which had beautiful eyes, a stray dog. It wandered into the monastery and it had beautiful eyes, glittering gold eyes, and a very peaceful character. It followed the monks back from alms round one day from the village. It's just a stray dog, and it came in and it had this deep wound, a pussy wound on the forehead, which caused it some pain from time to time and looked very ugly. Anyway, this dog followed the monks back one day and it just decided to stay in the monastery. It was very much a monastery dog. It didn't like to mix with other dogs, just liked to quietly sit in a quiet spot where no one was bothering it. The monks were kind enough to give it food every day. And normally it had no interaction with other dogs, and with the monks it was just very pleasant. And people would always ask, how did this very peaceful dog that doesn't act like other dogs, where did it come from? Why was it born as a dog? And why does it have these very beautiful, glittering, golden eyes, unlike any other dog? And the nickname we gave it was Pet, which means diamond, because it had diamond-like eyes. So one day a senior monk came and he was meditating and he said, I had a vision that this dog in a past life was actually a novice monk. And this novice monk was very, very diligent meditator. So he developed the merit of bhavana. He practiced meditation. He's a teenager, so he's a little bit rough and ready in some of his behavior. So even though he meditated and he attained jhana, deep jhana, but his precepts weren't quite complete. So he actually made a few errors in his behavior, had sexual relations with a woman. So in that life, he was a human, he was a novice, and then when he was reborn as this dog with this pussy wound. Perhaps that was a sign that he'd hurt somebody or something in a previous life as well. But the golden or diamond shining eyes were attributed to the deep samadhi he had attained in past life. The fact that he'd come to live in a monastery and was fed every day was a sign that he had the dana bharami. But he was missing some of this sila bharami. He hadn't made his full merit of sila, so he was reborn as a dog, albeit a very peaceful dog. So it's interesting, sometimes somebody, they develop some merit in some areas of their life and are lacking somewhere else. They develop dana but no sila, or they develop bhavana but no sila. And that often explains some of the strange things you see in the world. A dog can be really looked after very well. It's got the merit to never starve and always have people helping it, and yet it's still a dog. It didn't make enough merit to be reborn as a human being. Or like that dog Bunrot that was around last year, that was found swimming in the Gulf of Thailand, 200 kilometers offshore. And everyone there was an oil rig and the dog is swimming past, so they managed to catch it and bring it on board the oil rig and save its life. But everyone was asking, where did it come from? 200 kilometers out in the ocean, this dog just swims by. But that's a dog with merit, isn't it? It's got misfortune of being reborn as a dog. Maybe it was a person before, reborn as a dog because sila wasn't complete. But then it was saved and then looked after very well and became a household celebrity. So the results of our merit making can come up like this. You keep merit, or you make merit in one way, but maybe in another way we don't make merit, and so the results show themselves. Sometimes in meditation it's like that. You meditate and get a state of peace, and then you lose it very quickly because you don't have the skill to maintain your meditation, your samadhi or your wisdom. So the Buddha encouraged us to make merit on many levels, sila, samadhi, panya, and all these different 10 meritorious courses of action, to develop them well continually through our life. And little by little, making our mind firm in merit making, this will support every aspect of our spiritual growth, our growth in the Dhamma, towards Nibbana, towards enlightenment. They say one who reaches Nibbana is somebody who has full merit. They've cultivated this path and the path of merit to the point where they just have merit and nothing can take it away from them. You know, everything else we have in this world is a sankhara, it's impermanent. It can be taken away from us by old age, sickness and death, or from famine or fire or theft or whatever. You know, the things of this world are not certain. They can be taken away from us at any time. But your merit can't. Your merit stays with you. It's cultivated and it rests in your heart and it stays with you as your real possession, as it were. So put effort into cultivating merit in these different ways, and every moment that you cultivate merit will bring you closer to Nibbana, closer to enlightenment, which is something we all aspire to, and I hope that you will reach enlightenment. So I'll finish the talk here and wish you all peace, happiness and lots of merit.